band Wildland set out to make a video clip of their new song. Nothing unusual about that. But when they looked at the film in the edit suite, there was an unknown figure in the background. A figure with a severed head. With the fast edits, the switches from colour to black and white, it's not something you'd pick up watching a video hit show at home on television. But slow one particular image down and enhance it and see what happens. There in the background is a figure, a human figure, a figure without a face.
It is a person. It's definitely a human being, but we find that there's no... I've had looked at it closer since then, and there's no image on the face. I mean, I'm not one for getting into ghost stories, so to speak, but this has left quite an impression as to why this would appear in this particular instance.
Martin Lee was one of the cameramen on location that day, back in 1990. He actually shot the scene in question. But he's as baffled now as he was when he first noticed the figure, when the clip was being edited 4 years ago.
I had no explanation for it because it was not there when I shot it. It's quite, it's very haunting.
Even more haunting when he tells you there were no strangers at the location that afternoon, and every single member of the crew was accounted for. As well, Martin Lee is certain there was nothing, no one there when he shot the film.
I have no doubts that if the person had been in shot, I would have picked them up straight away.
But how could a figure appear in the background of a film shoot without anyone knowing it was there? None of the crew noticed anything untoward at the time. Could it have something to do with the dark and turbulent past of this historical part of Australia? The place is called Glen Davis, and it's just outside Lithgow in western New South Wales. And no one knows it better than Leonie Knapman, who grew up here and is writing a book about the rise and fall of her old hometown.
We had no electricity, so therefore no lights, and we had no fridge. Our food was kept down the well or the bottles tied on a string in the creek. And we made our own entertainment. I mean, we walked the mountains. We had no Christmas tree like people usually do. We had a gum tree. You made your own decorations. We had no shops. So it was a very simple life.
Glen Davis sprang to life during the Second World War, when the Australian government of the day decided the country needed to produce its own petrol. There were abundant shale deposits nearby, and these were mined, then refined into fuel. For the workers, it was tough, dangerous, even deadly.
There were two that were burnt when gas blew back, and they were taken to hospital and died later. Another man was crushed underneath the retorts. So there were lots of fatalities in that early period. So a lot of the men paid dearly for establishing this industry.
But this was an industry that was to be short-lived. By the early 50s, the plant was closed. The townsfolk began to disperse, and Glen Davis degenerated into a ghost town. And a ghost town was what Martin Lee found when he arrived to film that video clip in 1990.
A most desolate place, a haunting place, perfect place to shoot rock clips, no doubt about it. I'd love to go back there again and do some more, but on reflection back, yes, it had some sort of atmosphere that was quite unexplainable.
Almost as unexplainable as the faceless figure who appeared in the finished film clip.
The top 40 exposure the other week seemed to have...
Chris Moss from Sony Music was the man who marketed the band and the clip Wildland. He wasn't there for the shoot, but he remembers vividly the first time he heard about the mysterious unpaid extra lurking in the background at Glen Davis.
One of the members of the band, Noel, virtually came flying in over the telephone and said, "You just wouldn't believe what's happened here. We've discovered there's a figure on film that basically nobody can account for on the day of the shoot. You know, in real terms, we think that there's a ghost on the video."
A ghost in dark clothing, possibly wearing an overcoat. A ghost without a face.
The response from everybody was one of absolute skepticism. You know, "Oh, no, you're wrong, it's like a watermark on the film, or it was somebody that was standing there. It was a shadow that was thrown, it was the way that the sun came over, it was," I mean, any one of 1,000 things that everybody came up with, because nobody was prepared to actually just say, well, it's a ghost. We then took it out to the television shows and played it to the producers and directors out there and threw down the challenge, and they pretty much came back with the same answer as we did, which was, there is no answer. Nobody knew what it was.
Leonie Knapman, the Glen Davis historian, actually helped the producers choose the site where the clip was filmed. And she took us back to the exact spot the other day. Leonie, too, is mystified by the ghostly guest appearance. But she does have her theories.
At first I thought maybe somebody had come down off the mountain just to watch the filming. But when you watch the video and you watch the figure, there does not appear to be a face. It's very unclear. And so you wonder about the deaths that occurred in the area. Whilst nobody actually died in the powerhouse, one of the workers did die upstream, and his body was washed down into the bend of the river just over from this location. One of the others to die was actually in the retort area, and his head was almost severed in a very bad accident, and he died later in hospital. So who knows, it could explain the face that's missing from the figure.
Maybe. But there's one more twist to this ghostly tale. Enhance the video image even more, and you may see that not only is the figure faceless, at times the head looks as though it is severed from the body.